In order to have the most controlled environment on Windows, you might want to install individual components for the Apache HTTP server, the MySQL database, and PHP. I'll start with showing you how to download and install Apache for Windows. You won't go to the Apache Foundation itself. Even though the Apache Foundation manages this software product, it does not provide a fully compiled installer for Windows. Instead, that's managed by an organization called the Apache Lounge. Before you work with Apache itself, make sure you have the VC11 redistributable installed from Microsoft. You can get that from the link here. It'll take you to a web page on Microsoft, and then you'll want to click Download and choose the x86 version. As I'll show you in a moment, we're going to be installing 32-bit versions of both Apache and PHP. To find out whether you already have that installed, you can go to your control panel to uninstall a program. Then go down to the Microsoft section and look for your redistributables. Most Windows installations will have at least a few. And you're looking for this one, the 2012 redistributable for x86, version 11.0. Once you have that installed, you're ready to install Apache. I mentioned that we're going to be using 32-bit versions of these products, not the 64-bit versions. That's because, as of the current date, the PHP version for 64 bits is still marked experimental. And to make sure we have the most stable environment, we have to match the Apache version and the PHP version together. We'll use 32-bit versions of both. So I'll be downloading this version. I'm using 2.4.10, but anything in the 2.4 series should work for you. Make sure that whatever you're using says Win32 and VC11. I've already downloaded this to my desktop, and I'm going to extract the contents to my desktop to get started. I'll double-click on the zip file, and then I'm going to drag the Apache 24 folder onto my desktop. It'll take a few moments to extract those files to the desktop. When the extraction is done, we'll be ready for the next steps, renaming the folder and placing it where we really want it to run. Once the extraction is complete, you can rename the folder. You don't have to do this, but I find it easier to refer to this as simply Apache. So I'll rename it, and then I'm going to move it to my C drive root. I'll go to the C drive and verify that the files are there. Next, before I start up Apache for the first time, I have to make some configuration changes to match the name of the folder I just created. I'll go to the conf folder. That's where all the configuration files are stored. And I'll open up the file httpd.conf. I use TextPad, but you should be able to use any text editor you like. The first change I'll make is to take care of the Apache 24 folder that I renamed to simply Apache. I'm going to do a search here for Apache 24 and show you that the server root is set to C:/Apache 24. I'll search again and show that the document root refers to this as well. There are actually quite a few references to this folder throughout the configuration file. So I'm going to do a search and replace. I'll select C:/Apache 24 and I'll copy it to my clipboard. Next, I'll go back up to the top of the file and place the cursor all the way up here. Then I'll do a search and replace. In TextPad, you do that through the menu, selecting Search and Replace, or pressing F8. If you're using a different text editor, follow whatever steps you need to. I'm finding Apache 24 and replacing it with Apache, and I'll click Replace All. It takes just a moment for that change to be made, and now I'm ready for the next step. Next, I'll search for a parameter named server name. By default, this is commented out with a hash mark. I'll delete the hash mark, and I'll change this to localhost, the reserved domain name for the local instance of Apache. And that's it. I'll save my changes and close the file. And now I'm ready to start up Apache for the first time. I'll go to a command prompt. On Windows 8, you can right-click on the lower left corner and choose Command Prompt, and on Windows 7, go to the Start menu and type CMD and press Enter. Next, I'll change to the new Apache folder, and from there to the bin folder. Here's a listing of all the files that are in this folder. You'll find a number of executables and DLLs. To start up the server, type httpd. That's the name of the executable. You'll see that the command doesn't finish. That's expected. Now I'll go to the browser, and I'll test the home page in the website by typing http://localhost. And I get back the message, it works. That's the simple verification that Apache gives you that it's fired up and ready to receive requests. I'll show you one more thing that's important to know. I'll go to my File Explorer and then to the C:\Apache folder. Within this folder, you'll find a subfolder named htdocs. This is your document root folder when working with this version of Apache, as delivered by Apache Lounge. I'll open this file in TextPad and show you the very simple HTML markup displaying the text. It works in a large font. So that's how you get started with Apache. When you're done with an Apache session, go back to that command window and press Control-C. And that means shut down the server. I'm not interested in working with it anymore. To fire it up again later, type httpd again, and you're ready to make requests and work with the Apache server.